Good evening. You're watching this special edition of The Vote with me, Aarti Subramaniam, the show where I bring you up to speed with all the developments in the summer blockbuster of an election. Where else do we start? First, West Bengal, where campaigning has ended for the crucial phase 2 of the elections that go to polls on the 1st of April. All eyes, of course, are on the high-stakes constituency of Nandigram, where Mamata Banerjee is pitted against her protege turned rival Shubhendu Adhikari. Both the BJP and the TMC have pulled all stops in a last dash to woo voters, as Mamata Banerjee and Amit Shah have held multiple rallies and roadshows in Nandigram today. Now, Mirana Tanima Biswas is in Nandigram tracking all the political updates. We're going to go to her in just a while. A quick reminder for our viewers, though, unfortunately, we can't bring you all that Mamata Banerjee or Shubhendu Adhikari said today because the Code of Conduct by the Election Commission says that 48 hours before polling, we can't actually go across to any of the candidates. But we'll have Tanima joining us and bringing us up to speed with all that was there in Nandigram, all that was said today, where in fact Amit Shah and Mithun Chakravarti were both campaigning for Shubhendu Adhikari today, while Mamata Banerjee herself had 4 rallies. Remember, she has been on a wheelchair while she's been conducting these rallies. Nandigram is the most anticipated, the most keenly awaited election, as you can imagine. The stakes are high, the prestige is high for both parties here in this poll. Well, it's also been an interesting election, one that Nandigram itself has not seen before, with the kind of discourse that we have seen, with it centering largely on religious undertones as well. Mamata Banerjee, remember, has been saying that she is a Hindu. She's been chanting Devi mantras to counter the BJP's allegations of her pandering to the minority community. Tanima now joins us for more on this. Tanima, we've seen a day of hectic activities. We've seen a day of hectic rallies. Before we do a bit of a deep dive into Nandigram, just very briefly, tell our viewers what were the key highlights, the key headlines which both the BJP and the TMC made today.
That's right. In fact, what we saw was full firepower both from the BJP and the TMC. TMC, of course, it was the Bengal Chief Minister and the Trinamool Chief, Mamata Banerjee herself, who held one road show and at least 3 public meetings here in Nandigram. And she went to some of these areas which we've seen have been symbolic in terms of Nandigram, the land agitation. She went to Shonachura, where a lot of families who have lost family members to the land agitation movement in 2007, they were people who she addressed in Shonachura area. She also came to the Tengua More, another prominent location here in Nandigram. That is, of course, one of the areas where Shubhendu Adhikari is supposed to be more prominent over there in terms of his influence. But she addressed a Jansabha there as well, where the turnout was a little low because at the same time there was a Mithun roadshow going on. We also saw, of course, Shubhendu Adhikari being helped by star campaigner Mithun Chakravarti, as I said, but also Amit Shah, the Union Home Minister, held a roadshow right from Riyapara area, Nandigram, where Mamata Banerjee has rented a house and is putting up over there till 1st of April. From there towards one of the other main crossings of Nandigram, that Amit Shah held a major rally, and of course essentially saying that if Nandigram seat Shubhendu wins, then that means that Trinamool is out of Bengal. So these are some of the main things that we have seen. Of course, charges and counter charges have in fact been traded by both sides. Mamata Banerjee, of course, essentially saying that BJP is trying to buy votes. She's made these allegations. She's, of course, also targeted Shubhendu Adhikari specifically, directly saying that he was not there with the people of Nandigram right from the beginning in 2007. And even as an MLA, he has abandoned them at the last minute. These were some of the main things that we saw playing out through the day today. But the campaigning is over. The hectic rallies and the Jansabhas that we have seen over the past few days. Let's get a sense from the voters here in Nandigram. What's the mood like on ground? आपसे पहले हम ये जानना चाहेंगे कि इतना सब कुछ हुआ, इतना फोकस में आ रहा है नंदीग्राम अभी कि इतने सारे लोग हमेशा आ रहे हैं। दोनों ही पार्टी के सबसे प्रोमिनेंट नेता यहाँ से, एक तो चीफ मिनिस्टर हैं ममता जी और दूसरे शुभेंदु अधिकारी जो यहाँ के एमएलए हैं, वो अभी यहाँ से लड़ रहे हैं। तो आप लोगों को क्या लगता है एज अ आम वोटर कि यहाँ पे जो भी है इतने फोकस के बाद नंदीग्राम को कुछ अच्छा मिलेगा, फैसिलिटीज मिलेगा? रास्ते अभी भी खराब है इतने सालों बाद भी।
रास्ता तो शुभेंदु जीतेगा तो रास्ता तो अच्छा मिलेगा हम लोग को, पहले से बहुत रास्ता किया काम। अभी भी करेगा, वो जीतेगा तो अच्छा, हम लोग इसीलिए तो उसके लिए लड़ रहा है। दीदी तो इधर आता है 5 साल का बाद एक बार आता चला जाता है, वो तो यहाँ देखेगा नहीं, कुछ लोग देखेगा तो
आपके हिसाब से दीदी ने ज्यादा कुछ नहीं किया है। আপনার কাছ থেকে জানতে চাইবো আপনার কি মনে হয় যে এখানে লোকেদের মাথায় একটু কনফিউশন আছে? কারণ আগে, আমার প্রশ্নটা শুনুন, আগে এখানে শুভেন্দু ক্যান্ডিডেট ছিল, মানে এমএলএ ছিল, এখন বিজেপির ক্যান্ডিডেট হয়ে লড়ছে, তো লোকেদের মাথায় একটু কনফিউশন নেই যে আগে টিএমসি ছিল এখন বিজেপি হয়ে গেছে লাস্ট মিনিটে?
শুভেন্দু অধিকারী আমাদের সঙ্গে 2016 সাল থেকে জমি আন্দোলনের সময় থেকে আমাদের একেবারে ঘরের মানুষ হিসাবে এখানে এসেছে, ঠিক আছে। তখন ছিল তৃণমূলের সঙ্গে আন্দোলন করেছিল, আমাদের বিপদে আপদে তখনই ছিল। এখন তৃণমূল থেকে আবার বিজেপিতে গেছে, যে দলেই যাক না কেন উনি আমাদের একেবারে ঘরের মানুষ ছিল, একেবারে কাছের মানুষ, আমাদের আপদে বিপদের মানুষ। আমরা উনি কোন দলে গেছে সেটা বড় কথা নয়, শুভেন্দু বাবুকে দেখে আমরা বিজেপিতে আমরা ভোট দেব, এটা আমাদের একেবারে প্রতিজ্ঞা।
এটা তোমাদের, আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, আমরা জিজ্ঞেস করছি না কাকে ভোট দেবে। সো দিস পারসন এসেনশিয়ালি সেইং দ্যাট ডিসপাইট দ্য ফ্যাক্ট দ্যাট বিজেপি, Shubhendu is of course the BJP candidate, but and earlier he was of course the TMC MLA from this area. It doesn't matter whether or not, it's not going to be a party basis that they choose, but it's going to be a personality basis that they're making the choice. Not many people, we're trying to talk to more people here, but not many people are willing to actually come on camera and express their views. But essentially what we have gauged from after talking to people in this area, Aarti, is the fact that yes, both sides, both the leaders are very popular. What is missing on the ground, of course, is that despite being in power, the facilities here in Nondigram are not really up to the mark that a high-profile constituency should have had. The Chief Minister, of course, has promised that she is going to improve the infrastructure over here. Shubhendu also has said in his public meetings that he had his hands tied because there was a lot of corruption in Trinamool while he was the MLA. So he's going to make amends for that and develop this area under the Modi brand. That's what he says. So, of course, those are the claims being made by both the candidates over here. But it is a heavyweight, highly prestigious seat that we have seen there being intense, political activity going on, like a small town like Nondigram, even the slightly more urban area or the rural parts of Nondigram. If we go there was such a lot of intense activity, rallies, loudspeakers, Jan Sabhas, road shows that have been going on for the past few weeks, not just past few days. And the Chief Minister is still here, remember that, till the 1st of April she's going to be there. So there's still going to be a lot of political focus, of course, in this area. Nonetheless, the campaigning, the heat and dust of the campaigning at least is over. That's what we can say from here.
Well, Nondigram, of course, is a small rural area, but it finds itself in the spotlight of national discourse in so many ways, Tanima. And though it may be, silent period as what they call it, the Election Commission calls it, but it's fair to imagine and assume that there's going to be a lot more noise from this West Bengal elections, all of which you're going to be tracking. So, Tanima, thanks so much for that. We'll keep coming back to you for more on the sense of what's happening in West Bengal. In Assam, on the other hand, it's not been as vitriolic, it's not been as heated or as ugly, but Assam is also going to polls, in fact, on Thursday along with West Bengal in the second phase, where 39 constituencies go to poll. Now, this second phase, which is polling, the areas in this are the Barak Valley and Central Assam regions, an area where the Mahajot, that is the Congress-led alliance, actually holds the edge. The role of Badruddin Ajmal also of the AIUDF is going to be important. That's what's going to come into focus over here. Well, my colleague Afrida has also been traveling the length and breadth of Assam over the past few days. Afrida, there is so much of demographic divide in many ways in Assam. Each region of Assam is so different in terms of its electorate. Tell us about this second phase and how in many ways it's almost completely different from the first phase that went to polls.
Yes, absolutely. You put it right. I mean, many of the constituencies here are a cocktail of various segments. And I've heard this said in the local media that there is a mini India in Assam because you have the tribes, you have the Tea tribe, you have the Bodos, you have the Karbis, and you have the minority belt. And then, of course, you have the Hindu Bengalis and the Muslim Bengalis in the Barak Valley. Now, this region, like you also rightly mentioned, the Barak Valley region with 15 constituencies will be hugely significant. It's very evenly poised here. Like I said, the two communities are almost equally equal in number in the Barak Valley. That region has been in top focus. A lot of action there in terms of campaigning. I tracked the AUDF and the Congress rally today, and I found that in the minority belt, there is a minority belt also among the 13 districts going to polls in the second phase, which is in Nagaon, Hojai districts. Now there, Congress AUDF following is huge. In fact, there's this new poll rhetoric that Himanta Biswa Sharma started, saying that the people will have to choose between the ideology of Narendra Modi or Badruddin Ajmal. So I asked Mr. Ajmal what he thinks of that, since the BJP is pitching it that way. And he said that he is actually happy that he's being elevated and spoken in the same breath as Modi. But, that's how the poll rhetoric has been like. And I also spoke to Congress leaders, Congress MPs, both Gaurav Gogoi and Pradyut Bordoloi are very much here campaigning across, all the districts of the second phase. Gaurav Gogoi will be in Gwalpara tomorrow. Today, many of the star campaigners from the BJP, Smriti Irani is here. Himanta was campaigning in Mongoldoi. Now, I also asked Pradyut Bordoloi what he thinks will be different this time and why he feels that, the voters will shift loyalties back to the Congress. And he said two reasons. One, that the Tea tribe will vote for them this time since they're disillusioned with the BJP. And he feels that they're coming together with parties like the BPF and the AUDF is going to help prospects of the Mahajot. So all the leaders are, of course, making tall claims of how they are going to make a clean sweep. Both the sides are saying that. What will be important to see also is that this is the first state election after the CAB, the Citizenship Amendment Bill, became an act, a law. So what the Congress has been saying in most of their rallies is that within a month, we are going to make sure that there is no CA, it will not be implemented. And I asked this question that how can you not implement something that is a law now for the entire country? And to that, of course, they say that when we come back to power in the center, we will scrap the law as well.
Yes.
So that issue is still being used a lot in the rallies. And Rahul Gandhi here in his interviews to the local media has brought up the economy and the issue of unemployment. So yes, a lot of hectic political activity, but it's been all spread all over Assam, and we've been tracking some of the rallies over the past few days.
Well, that is true. Afrida has been in the thick of things for the past few days. Afrida, thanks so much. We'll keep coming back to you, more importantly, on the 1st of April when Assam goes to polls once again. But Tamil Nadu, interestingly, is not going to polls this Thursday. It's going to be going to polls on the 6th of April in one single phase. But here's a huge embarrassment for the BJP. In a double faux pas, in fact, it has emerged that the party made an election promotion video featuring a Bharatnatyam performance by Srinidhi Karthi Chidambaram, who is the wife of Karthi Chidambaram. Not just that, actually, the song used in the video has been penned by the late Karunanidhi, the DMK Supremo, of course, and former CM. So a double faux pas for the BJP. The visuals on your screen there, that is Mr. Karthi Chidambaram's wife, and also the song that actually plays in this has been penned by Karunanidhi. Mugilan joins us on the phone for more. Mugilan, this is not the first time that the BJP in Tamil Nadu has embarrassed itself or has leaned on the Congress or the DMK tall figures, for their own benefit.
Definitely, yes. In the run-up to the elections, we have seen in several instances Tamil Nadu BJP ending up in an embarrassment, either it being trying to appropriate leaders from other political parties or using images of other political parties. Now we are seeing Tamil Nadu BJP has been caught flicking a video clip that was penned by the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Karunanidhi, and in that video clip, Bharatnatyam has been performed by Srinidhi Karthi Chidambaram, Tamil Nadu Congress sitting MP and daughter-in-law of P. Chidambaram. So now this massive embarrassment has come to a light, and on March 28th, BJP has released this video, and now it has come to light that BJP has flicked the video that has been released by the DMK government at least 8 years ago.
Well, a huge embarrassment for the BJP. Incidentally, Srinidhi Karthi also reacting, saying that the lotus will never bloom in Tamil Nadu. Mugilan, thanks so much for that. Staying with Tamil Nadu, where the Prime Minister today was campaigning, the central theme of his attack on the DMK and the Congress was the issue of women's safety and pride. Accusing the DMK Congress alliance of disrespecting women, he raised three specific issues, which were the derogatory comment made by DMK leader A. Raja against the Chief Minister's mother, the attack in 1989 on Jayalalitha, and incidentally from West Bengal, the death of the 85-year-old mother of a BJP worker in West Bengal, saying that all of this is part of the Congress DMK culture of insulting women.
This 2G missile has one clear target: the women of Tamil Nadu. A few days back, this missile was launched by UPA with a clear order: attack the Nari Shakti of Tamil Nadu. Today, Congress and DMK have insulted the respected mother of Tamil Nadu Chief Minister. God forbid, if they come to power, they will insult many other women of Tamil Nadu. Never forget 25th March 1989. 25th March 1989, in the Assembly of Tamil Nadu. How did DMK leaders treat Amma Jayalalitha ji?
Well, that was the Prime Minister's attack on the DMK and the Congress. Incidentally, neighbouring Kerala, which is also going to polls in a single phase on the 6th of April, Mirana Srija visits the historical fort of Kannur. Speaking on the dominant issues for the polls, she's spoken to a few voters who have stressed on development, social security and jobs.
Today, we are trying to gauge in the pulse of the people as far as Kannur is concerned. Remember, I am here. This is the second pit stop that we at Mirana have made. We have spoken to quite a lot of political stalwarts as far as Kannur is concerned. Remember, apart from your developmental works, or for that matter, people-friendly schemes where candidates, in fact, put it forth right before the people asking for votes, here is something more darker as far as Kannur is concerned. Now, that is called the political killings. So let me go across to the people who are joining us here. In fact, we have a student who studies in Bangalore, but he has in fact spent his childhood right here in Kerala. This is exactly the place where he hails from. For how long have you spent here in Kerala?
When the day I born.
Okay, fine. It's been pretty long, you mean. I'm pretty sure that you know about Kannur very well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what, from the upcoming elections, what are you expecting? Now, you as a student, what are you looking at?
Like, there are so many, like, for road issues.
Okay.
And more like some rules has to come.
Okay.
And recently you know about the petrol issues.
Yes.
Much more, and college are, in many colleges there are some problems like transportation and other things.
No connectivity,
Yeah.
you mean? Okay.
And other, like, in many homes there are, like, water issues.
Okay.
And some homes are like inside in deep, so they don't get water and some essential
Okay.
things. So that has many problems.
So they are completely disconnected off from the basic necessities is what you mean. Okay, if I could ask you some more important questions here. If you've realized, I'm sure that since you're from Kannur, there is something called the active student politics that we are looking at. A lot of young men get into politics at a very young age, and you're looking at political killings. What is your reaction to that?
India, I think.
Because the government has to do something about it, because
Yeah.
the culture here is the political killing culture. So what you as a citizen demand?
Me, like, it's somewhat, I mean, it's good for some colleges, but like some people who do this politicals, they do like killings and other things and ragging.
So you're telling this should stop. That's what you're
Yeah.
asking from the government.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I'm going across to another lady over here who's joining us to understand what exactly does she need from the upcoming government, what exactly were the not given. Ma'am, എന്താ പറയാനുള്ളത്? ഇപ്പം ഞാൻ ചോദിക്കാൻ എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ നമ്മുടെ കണ്ണൂരിലെ രാഷ്ട്രീയ കൊലപാതകം കുറേ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. എത്രയോ ഫാമിലീസ് അതിൽ നിന്ന് കുറേ ഡിസ്ട്രോയ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അവരുടെ മക്കളൊക്കെ പോയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പോൾ എല്ലാ വർഷം ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു ഗവൺമെൻറ് വന്നാലും ഒരു രാഷ്ട്രീയ കൊലപാതകം ഉണ്ടാവും. അതിൽ നിന്ന് നിങ്ങൾ എന്താണ് ചോദിക്കുന്നത്?
ഒരു മോചനം വേണം. കൊലപാതകം ഇല്ലാത്ത രാഷ്ട്രീയമായിരിക്കണം വരേണ്ടത്.
അത് വിട്ടിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ ഒരു സ്ത്രീയായിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ എന്താ എക്സ്പെക്ട് ചെയ്യണം? നിങ്ങൾക്ക് സേഫ്റ്റി ഇഷ്യൂസ് അങ്ങനെ എന്തെങ്കിലും?
അങ്ങനെ ഇപ്പം ഒന്നും പറയാനില്ല. പക്ഷെങ്കിൽ രാഷ്ട്രീയത്തിൽ കൊലപാതകം ഇല്ലാതെ ഒരു രാഷ്ട്രീയമായിരിക്കണം ജനങ്ങൾ തിരഞ്ഞെടുക്കേണ്ടത്. അതാ വേണ്ടത്.
Voices from Kerala there. Unfortunately, it's a wrap on this edition of The Vote. But I'm going to see you tomorrow at the same time with lots of news and updates from these poll-bound states. So I'll see you tomorrow.